Hola, I'm Gerson Borrero for City and State TV. We're still in Albany, and we have another unique individual in the New York State Assembly, actually somebody who's going places, and it isn't to a courtroom or to face an indictment. So it's great. Marcos Crespo from the Bronx, number 66 on our Power Albany 100 list. Interesting. You've had a phenomenal year, but it didn't happen overnight. So, Marco, first of all, congratulations for making the list for the first time. And I think that what we have to do is actually talk about a little bit about the fact that you've risen to not only Bronx County Chairman, you're doing work that is important work on the New York State Assembly, from what I can tell, from what we're getting reports back. You're also with the Puerto Rican Hispanic Task Force, leading SOMOS. You just took it over. You've begun to have an impact on it. You're a busy young man. 35. Are you 35 yet?
In July.
In July, he'll be 35. Look at this. I feel such a failure. But it's good to see that, we had Francisco Moya on also, and we're talking about both of you. He was number 66, number 68. You're number 66. He wants to beat you, so you got to watch out for him. So he's from Queens. He asked me to ask you a question I'm not going to ask you about baseball, but we'll leave that. Sam, you're back. Let me take you out of Albany just for a minute. As Bronx County Chair, you replace Carl Hasty. Part of what's happening in the Bronx is that people don't get it. I'm from the Bronx, and I know the politics. Is the complexity of that it isn't just one who's ever there. It's been years of this Bronx County organization, people who have settled in. You come into I hear that you're restructuring part of the party structure. You're bringing in new blood, new people. Is that done as a need to have your vision in what the county politics are going to be? I hear that this past Saturday you had your first official meeting. Or is that accurate? And what is it that Marcos Crespo as Bronx County leader doing? Because that's an important position, and people who don't understand how county leaders throughout the 62 counties, how much of an influence they have on the process and the delegations that come to the legislature, that you should understand that they are an important part of this political process. So how is it going?
First of all, thanks, Gerson, for having me, and the honor of City and State to have me on this list. The Bronx is in a very good place. The Bronx has been the home for a lot of the very interesting political empowerment, as specific as it relates to Latino empowerment, for so many years. For me to be able to come into this position in a transition where Carl Hasty steps down, takes over the speakership of the Assembly, Carl had begun to really change the dynamic and bringing people together. From Riverdale to the South Bronx, folks which started to connect with one another. Unfortunately for him, that wasn't an easy transition in his case. He had to deal with a lot, and there were some, relationships that were not going to get fixed. Where I'm blessed is that I'm now able to take over, where I think I don't carry or have to carry any of the leftover baggage, so to speak, of those of that time and that change. And I'm able to come in a situation where there's a lot of openness, a lot of support. I got elected unanimously to the role. But the responsibility is to continue to develop and foster that unity, that cooperation. We're going to have our disagreements. We're going to have our, competing interests. But at the end of the day, the borough of the Bronx and the county is really positioned to continue to work together, to continue to stay united, and really shape a lot of not only the politics, but the policies that we'll see in the state. And so I take that responsibility seriously. I have a great relationship with the Speaker, and together we look forward to working on issues that are important, not just to Bronxites, but all New Yorkers. And we're excited about what the Bronx is going to have to offer. I believe we have a lot of talented elected officials, both at the city, state, federal level, and we want to continue to foster that, a whole new generation of very active, dynamic policymakers and political leaders.
The information I have is that you've already begun the internal process of bringing in new staff. Is that, or is that too much inside baseball?
No, it is. We have all new staff at the county organization. Actually, the new executive director is a young man who has worked for the city of New York for some years. Tremendous academic experience. He's working on actually finishing up now his dual master's degree. A very dynamic young man. He was about to be elected president of the Young Democrats in the Bronx, and I reached out and I said, look, I want to continue this tradition of empowering the next generation of leadership in our borough, and I think you would fit this role. He was excited to join us. So we have new staff at
Does he have a name?
Anthony Perez.
Okay, Anthony Perez.
Joven Dominicano.
Yeah.
Very well prepared to do the job. And so we have new leadership in that regard. And a lot of what you're going to see is moving forward, the structure of the county organization, the elected officials that are involved. We want to make sure that not only those on the executive committee, but all of our members have an outlet to show their leadership skills and to be involved in what we're going to look to do as a county organization. So we're excited about the options.
I got two questions on the county committee that will either get you in trouble or you decline to respond to them, and then I'll move to the assembly. The first one, I hear that there was conversations among the things discussed was whether to endorse Hillary or not, and there were some people that got up and said it's time to go Hillary, and I hear that you said not so fast. Did that really happen?
Yeah, I mean, look, we were having an open conversation. We obviously touched on the presidential race. A lot of folks have a lot of strong support or have expressed strong support for Hillary's campaign. But I think it's important, and in my view, is that as a leader, my job is to listen to everyone before we come to any conclusions. So we want to make sure that we continue to reach out to all of the members from our state committee, district leaders, everyone, really, to get their input. And if the consensus is we want to be with Hillary, then we may choose to do that. But before I get to any decision, I want to make sure that everybody's input is taken into account. Yes, there were some who thought that we should just move forward because we all expect, or some expect, that that's where we will end up. But we should play the process out. I think it's important. I think everybody's opinion needs to be valued and taken into account before a decision is ultimately made.
Jesus, I really hope that Mayor de Blasio is listening to this. You see how you do it in a diplomatic way and you just don't brush off the potential presidential nominee of your party. I'm just saying. I don't want to get you in trouble. The other thing has to do with Jeffrey Dinowitz, who's on the county committee. He wanted your job, I hear, in some circles, but you actually now the county chair. How do I put this? If Jeffrey Dinowitz is still the leader of the delegation of the New York State Assembly. I'm sorry, maybe it's me, maybe I don't understand politics as much as I thought I did. How is Jeffrey Dinowitz the leader of a delegation that is majority minority? How can he? How does that happen?
Look, the position that he currently holds as leader of head of the delegation is seniority based. It's based on his years in the institution. Okay. And he's done a great job of hosting and coordinating a lot of the discussions of groups that want us as a delegation, as it relates to assembly work and budget work, to really find, consensus and work towards the same request. It's important. A lot of our college campuses, a lot of our institutions, like the Botanical Gardens, the zoo, they cater to all of our neighborhoods. And so some people may say, well, that's the responsibility of the member who represents it. But you know what? Bronx Community College is not in my district, but it's my institution. Hostos is not in my district, but it's my institution. The zoo, the Botanical Garden, they create jobs, they provide opportunities. So I think, the delegation works really hard to do that. It's a different position and role from my role as county leader. That's purely political, and it encompasses everyone in the county of the Bronx. So, but we have a great relationship. Jeffrey's a very astute individual, has been around for a long time, very tremendous experience, and me and him get along great. And he's been extremely helpful, actually, supportive of the work we're doing and me getting to this position. And so, no, we have a good chemistry going, Gerson. I know you like turmoil, but we actually got a good thing going.
Well, you usually provide it. Politicians are great at providing turmoil. But I have another question, and if this doesn't get you into trouble, nothing will, and I know you'll be honest in your response. Governor Cuomo goes to Cuba, a 26-hour trip. Now, I know your Puerto Rican mother, a Peruvian father. You grew up in Puerto Rico. You grew up in the Bronx. You're a homeboy from the Bronx, a borough. They gave him a tremendous amount of the percentage of the vote for re-election. He had Ruben Diaz Jr., the borough president of the Bronx, as co-chair. He doesn't take one person, not one token Latino, except this professor out of nowhere from CUNY, que en su casa lo conocen, because nobody knows him. So how the hell does the governor get away with that? And you guys just, you sit and wait, didn't you guys feel offended? Did he consult you? Did he say, come on, in some capacity, Marcos, you're the ranking, Latino, Puerto Rican, and you're from the Bronx. Did he have, don't you find that it's disrespectful?
To be honest, no. It never crossed my mind, and I had very little interest in necessarily attending the governor's trip and the way he scheduled it and for the purpose that he scheduled it. I think the governor announced it as a leader's trip for the purpose of economic development. We have our speaker represented there, and therefore he represents all of us in the state assembly. I'm sure he had the Senate leadership there with him, Democratic leadership. As far as the professor from CUNY, I also know he had somebody from SUNY there. They actually met with the delegation of students there. So they were very calculated. What they were looking to do, it was a short trip. We've talked about it as a task force. One of the things we're looking forward to doing is potentially scheduling our own trip, educational trip, to really learn more, spend some quality time.
We being who?
The task force. We're looking
The
to
Puerto Rican
organize the
Hispanic
Puerto
Task
Rican
Force?
Hispanic Task Force. We've been talking about and trying
Samantha
to figure out how to
Dilly
coordinate.
Birdie, I think they're going to
A trip.
have a next Somos. Are you thinking of a Somos in Cuba? I don't know. I'm just asking.
An educational trip to
Okay,
better
sorry about
understand the
that.
conditions and nuances and see what this change in policy is going to mean for us in our communities. And, we're looking forward to having our own vision of what that trip should be about. But no, I'm not offended that the governor did that.
All right. So since you brought the Puerto Rican Hispanic Task Force, I know that you didn't have full input into the spring conference coming up in November. It's going to really be your first conference, and this is the Somos in Puerto Rico, in San Juan. Are there anything that you can preview that you're already making different, that it's going to be different, that it's going to be done?
One of the things we have a vision for what we want to accomplish, and there are some things that we're still looking to maybe shift around as it relates to how we put these conferences together. But I'll tell you what, first of all, in regards to the spring, I take ownership of this spring conference, the good and the bad, and there were mostly good things.
Okay.
A couple of things that didn't quite go as planned, but I can't take credit for the good and dismiss the bad, so I'll take ownership of that. As it relates to Puerto Rico, one of the things, and I don't know if you experienced it back in the days, I remember there was a time when Somos in Puerto Rico really took the time to get out of San Juan and into the communities, into the pueblos, and really incorporated the discussions in a way that truly addressed the needs. And, now more than ever, Puerto Rico's in a crisis, economically, socially. There's a lot of issues. Many of our colleagues have raised things that are important to them, and it affects us politically because in Puerto Rico, a lot of the social issues that we're seeing are being dealt with in New York, whether it's healthcare issues, whether it's substance abuse prevention services. I mean, the fact is that many Puerto Ricans are coming to New York seeking services. So it is imperative for us to be involved in that. I would like to see our state be more proactive and helpful in pushing the federal government to do right by the island of Puerto Rico and its people. We can't just be good for wartime. We have to be good at all times, and we deserve more support. I think it's great that this nation leads in terms of recovery across the globe. But its own territories need some help as well. And one of the things we want to do is highlight that, and we want to take the participants of the conference out into the communities to see beyond the touristic zone that is Rio Piedras or that is San Juan, and really Carolina, and get into los pueblos y que vean la dinámica. We want people to understand the dynamics there.
Sounds great. I'm going to stop it right here. I don't want to get you into any trouble because I already tried and you're not giving me anything here. But I like the fact that...
I learned from Francisco Moya to skate.
To skate? To Francisco Moya? No, Francisco Moya he's got a doctorate in that already. He's got a skating doctorate on political mastery, how to answer it. But thanks a lot. Best of luck. And hopefully next time we speak, we can actually talk about what it is that specifically is going to happen in the Somos conference in November. We have some ideas. I think we're going to be there also, so we have some other ideas that I think that are being worked out now. So,
and I appreciate, I just got to mention on the record, really appreciate city and state's effort in helping us promote the mission of this conference and educating the community about it. You guys have done a great job. Looking forward to that partnership.
Yeah, well, we're over there trying to dig on all the dirt. We haven't given us any. This is getting very boring.
You're stuck in the lobby. You got to get out to the beach. That's what it is.
Oh, that's where you guys are hanging out. For City and State TV, Gerson Borrero with Assemblyman Marcos Crespo, also chair of the Puerto Rican Hispanic Task Force and chair of the Democratic County Organization in the Bronx.